So, this video is all about an amazing leveling trick I'm releasing for Vanilla WoW Hardcore. This will enable you to level up very quickly indeed at launch. This method can be used around level 6, very early on in the leveling process. Ideally you'd be using this as a gnome or dwarf, but it can be used by any alliance race if you are prepared to travel a bit. So here's how it works. Travel to the Loch Modan side of the tunnel here, connecting it with Northgate Pass. Immediately get to Loch Modan, turn left and try and jump up this crack here. This is very temperamental, and so far as I can tell, there's no trick to it. You just keep jumping up until it works. Sometimes it works almost instantly, sometimes I have actually given up in frustration. The first time I ever did this, it was a big moment for me. This was the very first time I'd broken the fourth wall of the game, and once I did, I never went back to basic gameplay. This was just so exciting. Remember when WoW was young, no one knew very much about the world. There wasn't any YouTube or much in the way of information about the game at all. I had literally no idea what I would find. It'll take you about 3 to 5 minutes to reach your final destination, so I'm going to speed up the footage here. Once you get up, work around the trees and up the side of the mountain, then work your way around to the right and then back to the left. There are no major obstacles apart from the ones you've already negotiated at this point. You'll come back into the snowy terrain of Dunmurra. Run down into the leftmost gap here and then turn left and you'll find yourself in Ironforge Airfield. This is nothing to do with a version of Ironforge Airfield you'll find on retail. This was an experimental area in Vanilla that you were only ever meant to see from above whilst on a flight path. Because this isn't an exploration video, I'm not going to go into detail about all the cool stuff you can find here, but it's well worth checking out, particularly the infinite tunnel that stretches into nowhere and the dwarf hut that's built into the side of a mountain. If you run past the airfield, you'll come to this frozen lake, and eventually you'll see these dwarves fighting trolls. The trolls award experience when you kill them. They mostly range from level 7 to 10. Now, getting to the airfield itself isn't exactly public information, but a lot of explorers know about it. It was a commonly shared secret back in the day. What, however, has never been mainstream to my knowledge, and never discussed anywhere else, is how exploitable this is for early leveling purposes. Let me break it down. The trolls are unique in Classic WoW in that they respawn faster than any other mobs I'm aware of. That in itself makes them quite interesting. What is really interesting, however, is that when they reach the dwarves, they get obliterated. The dwarves are of much higher level. If you tag these mobs but do minimal damage before they are subsequently killed by the dwarves, you gain no experience. However, if you do 50% of the damage before the dwarves target them, you get full experience. What this means is that potentially you get more experience here than anywhere else at this level, since you are getting very fast respawn kills and don't have to contribute as much mana or other resources as you would normally to earn experience for a full kill. This is faster than questing, even optimized questing. This is a completely unique location in Classic WoW. There is no other to my knowledge where you can get hyper spawns and a large number of helpful NPCs killing them, let alone a place you get completely to yourself. To do this right does take some practice. When you first start to do this, you'll find that a lot of the time you target mobs that are instantly killed by the dwarves and you get no XP. The trick is to target the trolls which will be engaged last. It isn't simply a question of targeting the trolls at the back of a pack, because they tend to move around and change their sequence order, and the dwarves are quite mobile too, so you'll need to work out their movement patterns. You'll have to observe it for a while. If you are speedrunning or going for realm first, this strategy is going to give you a huge edge. The fastest way to speedrun classic leveling is to use massive pulls with Frostmage's impressive toolkit of stuns and slows. However, you have to get to about level 20 to do that, and if you get behind other players, then that strategy isn't viable at all. because you end up having to share mobs with other players. With this strategy, you can get so far ahead that potentially you would never encounter another player, as no one will be able to keep up with you. The one downside to this strategy is that sometime late in WoW Classic, they nerf the troll mobs, so they drop nothing. This may be a problem in that you need to pay for abilities and items in order to level efficiently at high levels of play, so there is a trade-off here for the extra speed. That said, you make very little gold at lower levels anyway. At this point of the video, I would normally push my Patreon. In this particular case, because WoW Classic has been around for 20 years, Blizzard have fixed most things, so I don't expect to find many exploits, at least in Vanilla Classic, on an ongoing basis. Although I do have a very useful and comprehensive list of hyperspawn locations.